can we get full-time Bully Aspinall after this smear campaign? How are you going to be on the comeback?
Right, when I come back, there is no more Mr. Nice Guy. Nice Tom. When it comes to MMA, he's gone. And I'm going full bad guy, I think.
From the moment Tom Aspinall entered the UFC, he quickly became the embodiment of what the heavyweight division claimed to value: consistency, professionalism, explosive skill, and the willingness to step in when no one else would. He accepted short notice bouts during chaotic stretches, volunteered as a backup when champions disappeared, and agreed to schedules most contenders would have rejected. Through every twist and turn of the heavyweight landscape, he remained disciplined, respectful, and ready to compete. Yet, after suffering one of the most severe and unpredictable injuries in MMA, a dangerous eye poke that threatened his long-term vision, Tom found himself facing public ridicule and dismissal, even from the very organization he had helped sustain. This was no minor incident. It was a serious medical situation that required careful attention. He didn't expect applause for being pulled from the fight, but he certainly didn't anticipate comments that painted him as weak. The notion that he chose not to continue sparked a wave of misunderstanding and disrespect throughout the MMA community overnight. Aspinall became the focus of criticism from fans who had never stepped inside the cage, analyzing a fighter whose vision was literally compromised. Rather than defending him or clarifying the severity of the injury, the narrative shifted, leaving Tom to face scrutiny alone. He stayed silent initially, allowing the speculation to build. But once medical professionals confirmed the extent of the damage and the risk it posed to his career and quality of life, Tom spoke out. And when he did, it wasn't with petty insults or emotional outbursts. It was with measured, unwavering clarity. The conversation quickly evolved beyond the injury itself. This was no longer just about one fight. It became a reflection on loyalty, respect, and the treatment of athletes who dedicate their lives to the sport. Tom Aspinall had been a cornerstone of the heavyweight division, a reliable and professional presence. And yet, when circumstances turned against him, he faced unfair judgment. His response reminded everyone that protecting one's long-term health is not weakness, it's responsibility. This episode exposed a deeper problem within the sport: the tension between fan narrative, public perception, and the reality of a fighter's physical well-being. Tom's experience became a stark illustration of the pressures athletes face and the consequences of misrepresentation, particularly when serious medical concerns are involved. Ultimately, it reinforced a simple truth: Aspinall's loyalty, courage, and professionalism have always been exemplary, and his decisions, even in the face of unprecedented injury, deserve recognition and respect, not derision.
Waiting around for Jon Jones for a whole year, over a year, career on hold, despite the fact that he told everyone, look, this guy ain't going to fight me. He's going to retire before he'll fight me. So you might as well just give me the title now. But unfortunately, the UFC, they wanted to believe that their GOAT was the man that they bigged him up to be, and they were wrong. And after working his whole life to become UFC heavyweight champion, this was the way it was announced.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
All right, Dana, calm down. Don't get too excited. And that was in the middle of the night in some random ass UFC press conference. No ceremony, no celebration, no congratulations, Tom. We've got the best young fighter in the world. It was as if no one gave a fuck from the UFC. It was so bad. And I get Dana was pissed because he'd been made to look a fool by Jon Jones. But that was never Tom Aspinall's fault. Tom just wanted to fight the best guy he possibly could. And you'd think MMA fans would love that. There's a fighter who's trying to fight the best, wants to win the title, wants to defend the title and be an active heavyweight champion, something we've not had in God knows how long in the UFC. But no, because Jon Jones weirdly has a lot of fans who want to see him protected and not get his chin smashed to bits, they supported the guy who ran away from the fight and trashed Tom consistently. What a weird fan.
This is part of a recurring pattern, one that highlights fractured relationships with some of the sport's most prominent heavyweight figures. Francis Eno, widely regarded as one of the hardest hitters in MMA history, ultimately left the UFC after years of friction and perceived mistreatment, claiming the organization undervalued champions and treated their dedication as expendable. Dana White fired back, labeling Eno a coward, dishonest, and difficult to work with, which intensified a feud that remains unresolved. Then came John Jones, once celebrated by Dana as the greatest fighter ever, who made a high-profile return to the heavyweight division promising a new chapter, but he immediately declined the matchup that fans and insiders have been clamoring for, John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. For an entire year, Jones stayed silent, sidestepping negotiations, avoiding updates, and offering no clarity, until the moment Aspinall became vulnerable.
Allowing himself to be missed very much, because the moment he left, he came right back. And by the way, I have no problem with all of this. We never had a problem with any of this. It was the fact that he was holding up the division, holding up the belt. Everyone said, please stick around. Stick around as long as you want. Just give up the title so other people can realize their dreams. Fun fights, one-off fights, legacy fights, super fights, all day. You're bigger than the title. John Jones is bigger than the UFC heavyweight title. He's bigger than any title. There's only a couple of guys who are bigger than the title. John being one. If Tom would have beaten John, the fact that he beat John would be bigger than him becoming UFC heavyweight champion.
Situation looked like Curtis Blades came to beat Tom Aspinall up that night. Tom throws a kick and magically gets hurt. I would expect a fighter to at least attempt to stand back up or at least limp. And with Tom, he was just completely just out of the fight. And his last situation was Cyril Gane. He gets poked in the eye. Normally you see fighters that are doing this number, trying to get the doctor to look at it. And actually, initially the doctor's just like, he seems fine. Tom's like, no, I can't see. The guy wasn't trying to see.
Yeah.
The guy didn't want to see. The eye that he was covering appeared to be the eye that actually didn't get penetrated. One eye finger goes all the way underneath the eyelid. The other eye, it was on top of the eyelid. And he ends up grabbing the eye where the finger was on top of the eyelid. I don't even think Tom really knew which eye was supposed to be more compromised. He just knew that he had been fouled and it was his way out. So that alone shows me a little bit what's behind the facade of this whole Tom Aspinall character.
All of a sudden, the division's usually quietest fighter became the loudest, openly mocking Aspinall, diminishing his achievements, and treating the situation like a personal triumph. Dana White, who had previously urged Jones to stay active, now publicly distances himself from the fighter, removing him from the White House card and expressing clear frustration over Jones walking away from the matchup that could have defined the heavyweight division. Amid all this chaos, the division is left fragile. Champions like Francis are gone, Jones has proven unreliable, and the spotlight falls squarely on Aspinall, the one heavyweight who consistently shows up, says yes, and embodies everything the UFC expects from its top competitors. When Aspinall finally spoke out and addressed the disrespect, it resonated far deeper than typical promoter-fighter conflicts. He isn't a headache, he isn't a problem, and he isn't someone who manipulates negotiations through the media. Aspinall represents a heavyweight who does everything right yet still faces disregard. Fans saw it, analysts saw it, and even fighters who usually avoid drama voice their support, because the pattern is unmistakable. Dana White's relationship with the division's top heavyweights is increasingly fractured, and Aspinall has now joined the list alongside figures like Francis, Ngannou, and John Jones.
Tom gets hurt, he's like immediately incapacitated. He poked my eye and then he's like immediately, there's no like...
He never tried to look. It was rag on the eye immediately.
Dude, I would have been the silliest looking cat on national TV just...
Trying. He didn't try. He didn't try.
Same thing with Curtis Blades. When he hurt his knee, there was no limping, there was no trying to get up. It was just like immediately...
Yep.
Burn my village. I can't go on.
He doesn't have the dog in him. Yeah, that kill or be killed.
Immediately quits.
Yeah.
When he got tapped out with an ankle lock, there was no trying to fight his hands. There were no trying to. He immediately quit.
You see the pattern of it.
Immediately.
Yeah. And I noticed the profile pic change, and then you had some on your horse too, similar.
Yeah.
What's with that?
I'm just having fun.
You having fun with the eye patches?
I'm having fun with it. Yeah. Okay. It's like he had at it with me. He had a long time coming at me. So it's to keep the fans engaged.
Of course.
It's just to keep things fun.
The best part about it is, like, what did Tom actually say about John? Like he never really played into, I guess he held up like a little duck and all that stuff, the horror. But yeah, the glazing was just...
He doesn't have that
Curtis
dog
Blades,
in him, bro.
the knee injury. He hit the air quotes for, I think it was a torn MCL, a torn meniscus, ACL damage, surgery, year recovery. Just like
blown out.
Didn't even try to limp around.
He didn't even give it the old college try.
Just wouldn't even give it a try. He doesn't have that dog in him. Just doesn't have that dog.
And then the thing of like...
No, the other guy said that. The other guy said he didn't have that dog.
He saw the patterns.
Don't forget.
Patterns.
The thing about not trying to open the eye, like, wasn't Aspinall being killed for the fact that, oh, he opened his eye because he was trying to go on. Everyone keeps bringing up this thing of him saying, I can't see. Yeah, okay, that was his reaction. But he didn't tap out. He didn't do... Anyway, not to like get into this back and forth because it's completely stupid, but it's like, you've never seen anyone talk so much shit about someone that he refused to fight, and not just refused to fight, but generational money. Like, no one has ever been offered $30 million, to the best of our knowledge, not even Conor, up front. This is pre-pay-per-view points, and you said no. And now you've gone on this tour shitting on the guy, calling him a quitter, saying that he doesn't have that dog in him, saying that he looks for the way out. The Curtis Blades, by the way, the Curtis Blades fight happened already. The ankle lock that you're talking about happened already. The poke happened after you said no, but like, if there were patterns, why didn't you fight the guy?
Think about Dana White saying Tom didn't continue.
Tom didn't want to continue in the fight, so.
And then also, who gives it to eye pokes?
Who gives it?
Well, listen, I didn't continue. I'll tell you why I didn't continue. Because I'm not a dummy. Like, I'm not going to go out there and fight one of the best strikers in the world if I can't see. I know, as an MMA fighter, look, things are going to happen in the fight that compromise you. Go back and watch my fight with Arlovski. The end of the first round, he punched me right in the eye.
A growing list of fighters has spoken out about feeling disrespected, not because they demanded special treatment, but because their loyalty and dedication were taken for granted. Tom Aspinall's response, however, wasn't theatrical or exaggerated. It wasn't fueled by emotion. It was clear, direct, and unflinching. He explained exactly what had happened with his eye, why continuing the fight was impossible, how serious the injury truly was, and why Dana White's comments were not just inaccurate. They were harmful.by addressing the situation so candidly. Tom laid bare truth the UFC has been reluctant to confront for years. This isn't merely a debate over pay or matchmaking. It's a matter of respect. And for champions who carry the heavyweight division on their shoulders, patience is wearing thin. Aspinall's message to Dana wasn't just a rebuttal. It was a firm line in the sand, a clear statement that even the most loyal fighters have limits. There comes a point when staying silent stops being strength and instead becomes surrender. Tom refused to surrender. His words revealed the emotional strain of seeing fans, peers, and even leadership twist the story into something misleading and damaging, despite his years of showing up when the UFC needed him most. His eye injury wasn't an excuse, a tactic, or a choice. It was a serious medical emergency with potential long-term consequences. And Dana White's dismissive remarks highlighted a disconnect that the MMA community has been aware for years.
The eye's still a little bit blurry. The other part of this eye is blurry. But the main thing that's bothering me at the minute is double vision.
When he's looking up and in, the left eye is going up and in extremely well. The right eye is kind of stopping. You see how the right eye is just not as high up as the left, and that's a restriction. So the eye wants to go and he wants to track it, but the more I do this, the more he's going to start aching in that upper inner aspect. And what he's going to do is, if he's in a fight situation, he's not going to be dealing with it. He doesn't want the ache in the eye, and he also doesn't want to have double. So what he's going to do is tilt his head. So that's on that side. If you look at the left, which should be matching it, so you're looking across, up, 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 as much as you can, and you can see how, again, with the right eye, it's up and out, but the left eye is just not able to go as extremely up as possible.
When I got poked in the eye, obviously, and then people were like, his eye wasn't even red. Does your eye always go red when there's something wrong, or is that?
You can absolutely lose your vision without having a painful red eye. So you don't need a red eye to have blurred vision at all. So no.
Yeah. So how long till I can train properly, spar?
It's a long road ahead, but the prognosis is guarded at the moment. I would recommend that you wouldn't fight until your double vision's resolved.
Tom Aspinall went to the doctors, and the doctors has confirmed that he's got some issues with his eyeballs. He's got some soft tissue damage to the eyeballs, and that will happen when a 6'6" Frenchman sticks both of his fingers knuckle deep into your eyeballs, okay? So that's not surprising. But what is surprising is that he has something called Brown syndrome, which basically is where the eyes aren't moving in tandem with one another. So therefore, the eyes, which are basically cameras, right, for your brain, in case you don't know, they're seeing different images. And when you see different images, you see double, or maybe sometimes the brain cuts out one of the images so that it doesn't get confusing and you don't get headaches and stuff like that. And then, of course, when you're only seeing through one eye, you have problems with depth perception.
Tom Aspinall's frustration wasn't born from ego. It came from feeling betrayed. This is the same fighter who repeatedly stepped in as a backup, risked his body on short notice to save events, headlined cards without hesitation, and never once tried to leverage the media to manipulate negotiations. When John Jones disappeared for a year, Tom kept fighting. When injuries shook the heavyweight division, Tom stayed prepared. When the UFC needed someone to carry the weight, Tom said yes every single time. And yet, when Tom needed the organization to simply acknowledge the severity of his injury, he was met with mockery instead of support. The irony is glaring because the patterns of the past decade all point to the same recurring problem. Dana White's inability to maintain strong, stable relationships with the division's top heavyweights. Francis Ngannou, once the embodiment of heavyweight dominance, walked away despite being champion, citing feelings of being ignored, undervalued, and disrespected. John Jones, widely regarded as one of the sport's greatest talents, returned to the division only to decline the fight that truly mattered, and then publicly attacked Tom the moment he suffered an injury. Now, Tom himself, the fighter who could have been the UFC's most dependable champion in years, is expressing the same frustration that drove others away. That history, that tension, has turned Jones into a wild card. Fans can feel when a division is fractured. Analysts can spot when narrative collapse. And today, the heavyweight division is no longer defined by strength, skill, or legendary rivalries. It's defined by conflict, miscommunication, and eroded trust. Tom Aspinall's injury should have been the moment the UFC rallied behind him. After all, he is the last heavyweight whose loyalty the organization can still count on.
Does he fight in 2026? True or false?
Well,
he's talking so much smack about Tom.
He doesn't have the money to not. He doesn't have the money to walk away. He doesn't have a choice. I mean, that's
why did he walk away to begin with? He was offered $30 million.
Yeah.
He asked for 30, and he got that.
Yeah, no,
and now he's apologizing.
Yeah, no, I don't know. He
miscalculated that one.
Yeah, he did that thing with Nate, and they got $300,000, and it took 30 days, and so all of a sudden he's like, "Well, if I can make $300,000 in 30 days, and I can do this every 30 days."
Sure.
No, I mean, sometimes explaining very basic things it can be tough, but will he fight again? Yes, I believe so, and I think there's some real legs. Look, if you're the UFC, the last thing you want to do is empower a dude that you can't count on, and by the way, it ties back into my theory to whoever's keeping him out of the rankings. Like there's something afoot.
What are you left feeling after the fight?
Oh, look, if you were sidelined from doing your job for like 15 months, not allowed to do anything, you train your ass off for 6 months for a fight, then to get double eye pokes, be left with no vision for nearly 6 weeks because of an illegal move. How do you think I feel? I'm not feeling fantastic, am I?
Instead of support, Tom Aspinall was met with distance. This wasn't a debate over contracts or matchmaking. It came down to a single careless statement. He decided not to continue. Those words twisted the narrative, casting Tom as weak at the exact moment he needed understanding and backing the most. What makes the situation even more serious is the nature of Tom's medical update. This isn't a minor issue. It isn't swelling or bruising that can be pushed through. He's dealing with a condition that affects how his eyes track together, a disorder that carries long-term risks, impairs depth perception, triggers migraines, and could cause permanent vision damage. These are not minor complications. They are career-threatening if mishandled. When Tom calmly explained the situation and detailed the severity of the injury, the MMA world finally grasped the full scope of what he'd been enduring. Suddenly, the smear campaign appeared petty, John Jones's mockery felt cruel, and Dana White's offhand comments came across as reckless. Tom's response resonated because it wasn't emotional or defensive. It was measured, firm, and demanding respect. He wasn't trying to start a feud. He was correcting the record. Fans immediately rallied behind him. Social media comments overflowed with support and apologies. Analysts reevaluated their previous statements. Even fighters who typically stayed out of heavyweight controversies publicly acknowledged that Tom had been treated unfairly. The quiet, consistent force of the division finally spoke, and the public recognized how wronged he had been. This situation also ties into a broader narrative surrounding Dana White's leadership in recent years. Fighters have repeatedly called out favoritism, double standards, and the tendency to undermine athletes publicly rather than defend them privately. Whether it was Francis Ngannou being labeled a coward for seeking fair pay, Jon Jones being shamed during contract negotiations, or now Tom Aspinall being dismissed amid a serious injury, the pattern is impossible to ignore.
Some reporters think that because I think that he should box because it's more money, that affected him in the fight. I've never heard as much as people saying what I say affects Tom in a fight. I say loads of things to loads of people. People who are around me all the time know that. Boxers are around me all the time. It's just because of the money. And it's the back to, if your son was a fighter, would you sooner fight for a ton of money or not a ton of money? It's a no-brainer, but people still have a narrative of what a fight is.
Bully Aspinall has finally come out. Tom Aspinall is showing he doesn't care about the UFC and the UFC fans who have been giving him shit for a long time.
He's going at the fans, he's going at Dana White, and he's going at Cyril Gane.
Let's go over what he said. Cyril Gane is a cheater. He goes into fights looking to eye poke, back of the head shots. He even said Jon Jones, before he fought Cyril Gane, called him a cheater as well. Then he says he's pissed off with Dana White, and he's also said he's got Brown syndrome, which is a pretty serious eye condition, which may involve surgery. He's not training right now. He just wants to get his eyes back to 100%.
And you know what? It's all warranted. Dana White, very unnecessary comments after that fight.
You know, he's very much been the nice guy, the polite Englishman, the gentleman. Now, he doesn't care. The gloves are off. And this Tom Aspinall's going to self-ice. And dare I say, he's going to knock out Cyril Gane. He's coming in with a vengeance in the rematch.
The dynamic between Dana White and his top heavyweight fighters has clearly grown tense. And Tom Aspinall's response adds another critical chapter to this unfolding story. The narrative now makes it clear that the UFC's most powerful division is struggling under mismanagement. Tom never asked for a fight or drama. He simply sought acknowledgement, recognition of the truth, recognition of his unwavering loyalty, recognition of the seriousness of his injury when that acknowledgement didn't come. Tom took it upon himself to set the record straight. How Dana White chooses to address or ignore this situation could define the future of the heavyweight division. The same patterns that drove Francis Ngannou and Ngannou away and fractured Dana's relationship with Jon Jones are now in play. Point one thing, however, is beyond dispute. Tom Aspinall is no longer staying silent. He is no longer taking undeserved criticism. He is no longer allowing the UFC to tell his story for him. For the first time, Tom has fired back, and the MMA community is listening closely.